All right, we're rolling. I'm here today with Rachel Kielly. She's a shareholder with Kaks Inc. actually. So because of her, we were able to get some financing completed for our bar. Rachel's also a small business entrepreneur. She resides in Calgary as well as Mexico. Rachel, if you want to take it from there, just to let the people know some of your lines of work and like why are you living in Mexico half the time and Calgary half the time?
Well, Mexico half the time is an old story. I lived in Toronto at the time, and I was leaving work, and I worked for Nissan. I used to sell cars for Nissan right out of high school.
Oh, nice.
And I was standing in a snowstorm going to the subway, and it was really cold. And Toronto's got a different kind of cold than Calgary does. It's very moist cold. So
go on.
Oh yeah. So I mean, I just remember standing there going, "This sucks," and I need to find a way to do. And I've always sort of wanted to do 6 months. 6 months was my goal. So I was 19, and I said there has to be a way, and this is what I want to do. And it was always in my brain. And then I met the boy's father, and we married and had kids. So I put that on hold. But I think they always knew growing up. I think it was something I always mentioned, like, one of these days when you don't need me anymore.
So people who don't know, Rachel's also Cass's mom. So yeah, Cass, my business partner, co-founder of Kaks Inc. So carry on there. Yeah. I had to clarify that just in case you're like, oh yeah, the boys, the kids. Yeah. I was like, well, people aren't gonna know.
The boys. So there's Cass and Carter, and they're a year and 2 weeks apart. So I waste no time. And I think they grew up always knowing that. And I ended up, in Calgary, and that's where they were raised. And we lived there I lived there. Gosh, I moved there in 88. I don't want to date myself too much. But
oh, geez.
right after the Olympics.
So you're more Calgarian than a Torontonian or whatever.
Exactly. And I was born in Prince Edward Island. And moved to Toronto when I was 16 or 17, and I finished I moved up there to go to work for the summer, and I stayed, and I did my last year of high school there.
Sweet.
Just figured out a way to do it. No shock to my parents. And from there, I was there about 3-4 years, and went back to PEI and for a little bit, left their dad, and we moved west. He worked oil. So, the boys knew from a very, very, very young age that I, at some point in time, was planning south. So, the last business, I was going to say, the last business I did in Calgary that I opened on my own was, I knew I was opening, I was going to sell it within 2 years, and the goal was to take those proceeds and head south. And it sold in a year and a half, a little faster than planned, and then it was time to go, and then all of a sudden I was like, I'm abandoning my children, and what they turned around and to me and said was, and what Cass said, Mom, go for it. This is what you wanted, go for it. So I did, and I've done my 10 years here, and it's been an adventure. And we had a landscaping and construction company here, and we sold that just before COVID, so good timing. And at the same time, I had opened another online business that has to do with plant medicine.
So how many projects did you simultaneously have going, like at its peak, would you say? How many businesses? 3 simultaneously? Okay. So were each of those businesses just like, instead of going all in on one, you're like, hey, I have 3 of these passions, so I have to do all 3 simultaneously? Because I mean, Cass and I right now just running this one, getting our bar going, is already all consuming. So I can only picture if you were running 3 simultaneously. I mean, like, you must have been super busy, I would imagine.
Well, I am my father's daughter, and he was always an entrepreneur, and I was raised sort of underneath the desk with my mom doing all the books and with the big ledgers, and learned to do the books when I was about 10. Oh, no way. And I learned what red ink meant when I was about 10. So my passion has been business. it's not necessarily one business or the other. My passion is business. And to be able to go into some new business and go, what's missing, what's needed, what's somebody not doing, what can we do better, where can it improve? So that's a passion of mine. So I don't think I'll probably ever retire.
Yeah, I've heard you say that before, and I think that's a good mindset to have, because you said you temporarily did take a break from working, right? And because you kind of like you set yourself up in a decent enough way, and then you said you kind of went crazy, right?
Yeah, I kind of got really bored. You can only sit on the beach and drink Mai Tais for so long, and then it gets boring. So I've taken on a new adventure, which is a big learning curve.
Right. At Canadian Financial?
At Canadian Financial, yeah.
So okay.
Not a part of the side of small business I've ever been a part of. You know, like I said, I understand the books and the accounting, but I've never, understand the banking side and the loan side and the what's the word, the corporate charge cards, and lease to own products and POS systems and all this stuff. So I took that on in October, end of October.
Was your decision to go into that line of work kind of like your way of giving back to the small business world, because of you, it's like you're the loan officer now. So you help small businesses get financing, right?
Yes.
So it's almost like because you've seen it from the other side. You've seen it from the person with the idea needing some funds to get their dream going to now you're on the other end, kind of like with the wisdom and the experience to know, hey, this probably will work. Let's loan them this money, or they need to tighten up their business plan or whatever. Like I don't know. I'm just thinking like because it just was like it just seemed like I was just curious like, oh, what made you choose to work for Canadian Financial while having your other small businesses going, right? And it kind of works out for us too, because in case Kaks and I need more money, we can be like, Rachel.
That's
help.
right. You know who to call. It fell into my lap, to be honest with you. I was looking for something, and I didn't know. Again, I didn't know what I was looking for. I just knew I was looking for something. I wanted to start something new or be a part of something new. And I posted. I went to Facebook onto a couple of small business groups and said, hey, like I'm looking for someone who needs a partner, somebody who needs an investor, somebody who wants to sell something. And then people start asking me, well, what do you want specifically? And I'm like, well, I don't have a specific thing I want. I just love business. So I'm open to all options. I mean, we had landscaping and construction here, and I have killed cactuses in the past. So, but I'm really good at design and customer service and listening to the customer. So for me, it wasn't important so much about the business. If it interests me, I would learn about it and go for it. And I got a call from the owner of Canadian. And he said, hey, what about this? And we talked 2 or 3 times. And exactly what you said. I was like, wow, this is a way I can really help other small and medium-sized businesses, especially recover after the last
after
couple
COVID
years.
And everything?
Right.
Uh-huh.
And I do believe that in the worst of times, it is the best time to start a business.
Do you think that? Like, why do you think that?
Because everybody's afraid. And so you don't have a lot of competition. People are afraid. And I think some of the best businesses have come out of tough times. And if you can start in a tough time and get through, you're laughing after that.
Yeah, that's a very good mentality. And like Cass and I, we've indirectly kind of fell into that. Like we're starting Kaks now at a time when everyone told us not to. But it's not, but I can't say that it's because we had the mentality you had. It was just, we just like literally we were just doing it. We weren't really thinking about recession or whatever. It was just, we had this idea and we're just excited about it. And then we started getting to work on making it happen. But your mentality, cause that's the one thing, Rachel, like, so, like I met you when I was, I don't want to date myself either, right? So, like when I first met Cass, he was a little kid. I was a little bit older than him, despite the way we looked, there's a little bit of an age gap there. And then like, I remember I would come by your house, so I knew you right then, like just seeing you around and stuff. And I always thought like, I was like, I remember saying to Cass, I was like, yeah, your mom's pretty like, she's pretty like tenacious, you know, just your personality and stuff. And, but then obviously the years go by, and then I get to know you just from you visiting back into, you know, during winter and coming by Cass's place. And I remember we got into that one conversation the one time, we were having drinks. So I'm going to try to just skirt around any controversial parts of our conversation. But basically you told me you love Jordan Peterson essentially.
Oh.
And yeah. And then I'm a big fan of Jordan Peterson myself. I know a lot of people aren't, you know, and I have friends that don't like him at all, don't agree with what he has to say. You know, I would like to think I'm an open-minded guy. I can, you know, like I'm not married to all of his ideas, but I get the message, the general message he's sending. And that's where you and we ended up chatting for a while at the bar there, because we both kind of, you know, like we like you basically naturally are doing what he was talking about, you know, like, cause you're self-reliant. You don't, you think for yourself, you know, you're not just agreeing with the crowd, right? When things are happening, hence what you just said 2 seconds ago, when you said, yeah, like best time to start a business is in a tough economic time. And then, so that just kind of like gives a kind of scope into your mentality, so to speak. Right.
Well, I mean, Carter, Cass's brother, introduced me to Jordan Peterson in 2017.
Yeah.
And there's probably really a day that he's not on in the background.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I have on my TV is podcasts. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
At all, ever on podcasts. And it's not that I agree with it. Again, it's not that I agree with everything he says, but he did make me feel sane. I did feel like, I'm not the only person that sort of believes this. And I'm not really quite sure where my belief came from, but tenacity, I guess. And I don't agree with everything he says, but that doesn't mean I don't want to listen to everything he says, because what he says, or other podcasters or people, make me think. They make me question. I get a different point of view, and I can figure out why I don't agree with that point of view. Oh, I don't agree. Why I do agree with that point of view. But knowing somebody else's point of view, knowledge is power. I don't mean to be about. It's not about power, but it is about an open mind, and that there's more perspective out there than my own.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I only can learn.
Yeah. Like the world's a big place. You can't think that like there's no way we even remotely know it all. So you have to keep open mind. But it's just like but during our conversation at the bar that one time, it's like you and I and other like-minded people, for the most part, like we resonate with that message that's being sent. And, you know, and I don't know, I just enjoy talking to you about that. And then I also started to wonder, like, did you consciously kind of teach Cass the mentality you have? Cause he has it basically. So I'm just curious, that he kind of watched you and then learned it, or did you teach him that or anything like that? Or, I mean, cause I know that like him and I just like we chat all the time about, you know, like business, about self-reliance, about independence, you know, like getting things done, questioning things for yourself, not going with the crowd, things like that. I know that I learned mine through my environments. Like my parents never taught me to be like that. I just kind of noticed what worked for me whenever I had to rely on myself for things. And then I realized that's when I excelled the most. Like I gave whatever that thing is more energy. And when I took the safety net away of relying on someone else, so to speak. You know, that's right. What Jordan means by clean your own room, right? Like it's not there's a alliterative and figurative metaphor behind that, right? It's not, don't have your mom clean your room, it's you clean your room, right? Yeah. Like,
well, and the boys always cleaned their room, and that, you know, there was always chores. And I think I fired them once.
What do you mean?
Well, because it was part of their allowance, and there was 2 chores every day, and one was your room and another one. And so on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you cleaned your room, and you either tidied the bathroom, or you swept the floor, or you emptied the dishwasher. And on the day that it wasn't your room, it was poop patrol, because we had a dog.
Yeah.
And one other thing. So it was 2 very small items that you did every day, and then you got your allowance. And I just remember, yeah. And I mean, I think I paid pretty decent for the time. But they
What'd you pay him? What was their allowance? I'm curious. I'm gonna compare it to my mom's.
I think it was like $10 a week.
$10 a week. Okay.
And if we're talking back in the 90s, probably early 2000, and on top of that, they both had their first jobs doing flyers. And oh my God, I've got some funny stories, but Cass might kill me.
Tell him.
Well, okay, I will. But the deal was with that, and we went out and we took the dog for a walk and we delivered all the flyers. They had to put them all together. But the deal was we got paid every month, and half went into a bank account into savings and half was yours to spend.
Okay.
So when they had an Xbox, they bought the Xbox.
Sweet.
When they had a PlayStation, they bought the PlayStation. They had stuff, they bought it. And I always sort of felt like if they bought their own stuff, they had more respect for it because they earned it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. No, Cass talks to me about that all the time because like he wasn't spoiled in any way, and like that's why he's so hardworking and everything. And I've really noticed that between people who have just things given to them, like the Xbox was just given to them versus someone like Cass with
the word snowflake.
Yeah. There's a lot of snowflakes out there. There really is right now. It's getting kind of like unbearable actually.
Right.
Okay.
I felt it was my job from their time they were born to raise productive members of society.
Yeah.
Independent, productive members of society. And so I would do anything, including jump over the moon for both of them, but in the same respects, I'm most proud that they don't need me to do it. They can jump over the moon all by themselves. And that was what I wanted.
Yeah. It's that old adage, I think, teach a man to fish, right? Or something how did that quote go again? You can,
you teach, you give a man a fish or teach a man to fish, right? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You can teach a man to fish and he'll feed himself for life.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right.
Yeah. So, I mean, when it came to, of course, they're not perfect sons. Well, I think they are. But
what do you mean they're not perfect?
so if I had to ground them, I couldn't take away their Xbox like other parents could. It was not possible because it wasn't mine to take.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I never thought of it like that. Okay.
Right. But you have to plug it into a wall.
Oh, there's the catch. So you're like, you can't use my electricity, but you got your Xbox. Okay. Yeah. I don't know, but
they really didn't get grounded very often. I think maybe that might have happened a couple of times, and maybe I don't even remember. Once, probably.
Well, I got to thank you for your upbringing of him because, like, Cass definitely has work ethic. Like, that guy's a workhorse. He's on my case half the time now. I feel like I'm working hard, but every now and then he'll point out again his schedule right now, all that he's doing, and then I like that. That fires me up. Obviously I don't like to hear it at the time, but then I remind myself, I'm like, am I a snowflake? No, I'm not. So then I'm going to do this, But okay. But currently right now, you have, how many dogs did you say you had right now? Because you sent me this. You have six dogs right now. Okay, and are you trying to house all the dogs right now?
I would like to find. I have 6 dogs and 1 cat.
Okay.
The cat's name is Matsumoto, named by Kaks.
Matsumoto.
Matsumoto.
Oh, from the Last Samurai. Yeah,
right.
Okay.
She has these orange things. And I said, I need a. She's a girl. And I said, I need a strong redheaded girl name. And he went Matsumoto. And then we ended up adopting another cat. So I had Matsu and Moto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Moto passed. And So.
Okay. But sorry. So but these 6 dogs currently, you're trying to, because one of your businesses was you did dog rescue, right?
Was not a business.
It's not a business. Is that just something you did?
It was just, it's really hard to walk by, and living here in Mexico, it's completely different. So I can tell some pretty horrific stories. So and so.
So you took them in essentially.
I took them in, and I found them homes, a lot of them homes, and I mean, we've had up to 14 in the house.
Holy 14!
Well,
oh my God.
Jorge, my husband, messaged me once. He was on a construction site, the construction business. There's a picture of him in the car and this little dash hound. And I was like, all right.
Like another
right. Take her to the vet, get her shots, get her set to be spaded, and you'll find her a home. And she's a purebred mini dash hound. So she had been living on the construction site. So he takes her to the vet, and it turns out she's pregnant.
Oh, jeez.
Right?
Okay.
And I'm
Did you guys
like,
keep the pups?
Great. Well, you'll be getting up with the puppies.
So that's like...
They were born, there were 7, 6 lived. And Daddy was not a mini dash hound. Daddy was probably a very, very, very large basset hound.
Oh, God. Man.
They got big real fast.
How long ago was it?
Been in 2017.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it's kind of recent almost. Okay.
Right. So I called her Boo, and all the puppies were named, and a couple of them had what you call swimmer's legs. So that's where the joints, like their elbow joints and their back legs, are really flexible. And so I looked up on the internet how to try to fix it, and electrical tape, and I taped their ankles together and pulled their tails up, and it strengthened those joints and strengthened the tendons and muscles around it. And we found them all homes, and Boo and herself and her son. What's her son's name? Which son? The Prince, I think, and he went with her to homes. Okay. They all found homes. So So now I'm down to 6.
Okay.
But I would like to find 4 homes.
Do you like, pardon my ignorance, obviously, like Cass's dog Lucy, you found her, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, he told me he was ready to adopt, so I reached out to a rescue that I know, and he told me what he was looking for, and Lucy came up, and I went, "Oh, that's pretty cool," because she could hold a wine glass on her belly. By the way, Lucy
can. Yes. I've never tested that, or maybe I have. I don't know. I've cuddled with Lucy so many times. Like she's just such a lovely dog, and she's a Shih Tzu, by the way. People, she's a Shih Tzu, right? Like
she's a. You know what? Maybe she is like a poodle with cocker. Possibly.
Is that what it is? Okay, I don't know.
She could have some Shih Tzu. She could have some Schnauzer.
Okay.
She's Mexican. Let's just go with that.
All right, sweet.
Right. And Carter's dog, too. So about a year after, Carter said, okay, I'm ready, but I want a dog that can go hiking with me. I want a medium-sized dog. And I reached out to the same rescue.
Sweet.
Roma.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Is it Rona or Roma? Roma, right. Yeah, I met Roma. I haven't seen her in years, but okay, that's pretty sweet. Okay, to switch gears here a little bit, I do want to ask you, you share as much as you want, okay? So I was talking to Cass this one time, and I'm going to preface this with allegedly. Allegedly, this may or may not have happened. Allegedly, okay? But anyway, now that I put that aside, we're going to dive into it. You did ayahuasca, hey?
Oh, yeah. No. I did DMT, which is the toad.
You did okay.
Directly from the flakes right off the legs of the toad.
Okay.
So not synthetic.
Yeah.
Directly, yes. I did it 4 times in a row.
Holy shit. Because I've done DMT as well. I probably didn't get the organic stuff. Sorry, I allegedly did DMT. Anyway, but I mean, like, what did you see when it happened? Because me and my fiance, like, yeah, we did it this one time, and it was just that was trippy. Like, you know, even today I'm still kind of wondering what that was. I mean, I've done large dosages of like mushrooms before as well, and but that whole experience was just so it makes me think like nothing's real or something, you know, like what did you guys see? Because I remember Carter was, you know, talking to Cass about it, and then And then, I was trying to tell Cass, I'm like, hey man, like it's good. You should try it, And then Cass was like, oh, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to, cause like he said that, I guess it took you guys like a few days to like, in his, not in his exact words, but he was just saying, yeah, it was like, that was all they were talking about for like a few days. And I'm not ready for like a full on super paradigm shift or whatever, So, but yeah, but I want to hear you tell more about that because I was trying to get more out of Cass on that, but he didn't have anything left to tell me. But I figured because I'm always fascinated with psychedelics and things like that. I think society should partake in that all the time. It definitely like boosts your empathy for everyone. It makes you really think you're like we're all one thing. And I don't know, but what did you get out of it here?
Well, I did do it with my husband, but I did it differently. Again, it was from a shaman, and there is the toad on the west coast of Mexico. Mm-hmm. So it was directly the little flakes in a pipe. And I was nervous, but one of the things I had said was that I didn't want to see my husband after, or I wanted to have the experience on my own. I didn't want to see him after. I wanted him to have the experience on his own. I didn't want to have any influence on each other. So I went first, and
so he just left, like he completely left.
We did it actually at a friend of ours' places who is from England. He's a son of an earl, so he's got a nice big place overlooking the cliff in the Caribbean. So I was on the cliff overlooking the ocean. And geez. yeah, right.
Okay, keep going. I can only picture what you were seeing. Like,
right.
Oh, okay.
So, he went to a neighboring house, and I had my experience. So I had it with Enrique is the shaman's name. I'm actually still in contact with him. He actually asked me to set something up in Calgary, and I went.
He asked you what, sir?
If I would set up a group in Calgary that would like to. I went, well, let me think about that. I don't know if I know a lot of people in the business world that may want to experience this.
Yeah.
And also another friend of mine whose name is Enrique as well, but he was his apprentice.
Okay.
And we called him Kike. And again, still very close friends of mine. So it was Kike that came and did it with Carter, and it was a little bit of a lower dose, not like directly from the toad, but still.
Okay, so Jorge had to go, but Carter was there with you?
No, Carter. I think it was he came to visit 6 months later. I told him about it, and I knew he was struggling with some things. And I said, why don't you try this? And I didn't take him into the same depth or the same amount of the toad, and that's what for the DMT. But it was definitely enough to at least start him on his journey, which I thought was good place.
Well, the DMT thing is depending on your dose, it could be very quick, right? It could be like 10 minutes.
It's within 10 minutes. It's 10 minutes, super quick. So,
but if you're consistently, if you're consistently hooting it, then you get that blast off that they described. I never blasted off, but it was getting there, and then but that was just all we had. So I'm sure I would have blasted off if we had more. But but it was definitely. But carry on. Sorry, I want to hear
this. Was in a glass pipe, and he puts the flakes directly in, and he lights it, and he just says, inhale, and you keep inhaling till you can't inhale anymore. So it's one big inhale, and then all I can remember him saying is hold, 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 and I was gone. And
what did you experience? Let's hear
everything.
Because you said you did it 4 times. You said you did it 4 times back.
Yeah, because when I came back, he said, "You want to do it again?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!"
Yeah. So you were So would you say you total time you were in the DMT realm for 40 minutes? Then, hey, if it's about 10 minutes a piece, you did 4 back to back.
Yeah,
that's a long time. That's a long
time. We had a conversation. I went back in again. We had a little conversation. I went back in again. We had a conversation.
It's crazy how quickly it comes in and out, right? it's literally like you're entering another dimension and then you come back out. It's like that, like that's the best way I was trying to explain to people. It's so instantaneous, but then the way it flows back in and out, like, because when it ends so like whoo, and then it's over, and then you're looking around and there's no like hangover, if you will, or whatever. You're just kind of like, look, I literally just went to another dimension and I came back, and it was like, I just remember thinking like what was that? You know, like it was just
I felt
like,
each time I came back that everything was still in 3 dimensions or 5 dimensions each time I came back. So when I was sitting there and talking with the shaman after, I still felt like everything was in almost 5 dimensions. Like, it's hard to explain, but it was in such detail. And it stayed like that with me for a while. And when I went home afterwards, I didn't speak to anybody for 3 days at all. I even told
just because you had to process everything and
I wanted to relive it and relive it and relive it and relive it and relive it, so that it was embedded in my brain. So I didn't speak even to my husband. I was like, I lived in silence for 3 days. Just because.
What about Jorge? Did he do it as well after you?
He did, and I don't think his experience was the same.
Okay.
He said he just didn't feel as comfortable. He didn't feel as connected. For me, I felt like, how do you say, like you take that graph paper where everything is in the little squares.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Okay.
I saw Lego shit. Like, I literally, everyone turned to Legos, like Ann Simpson characters for 2 seconds.
For me, everything turned into a graft, like this endless, with no beginning and no end, graft that flowed with what was in the room or flowed what was around me, but nothing was disconnected, and everything was connected.
It felt like we're just one thing, and we think we're not. No. Like, that's just the one thing
one little dot on the graft that's attached to the tree, to the blade of grass, to the cup, to the house, to the, to the rock, to everything. And you sort of see this connection of everything. There is no end and no beginning.
Did it mess with you to, like, try to go back to your regular life, or were you just like, okay. Because I remember mushrooms, like, well, everyone's different. I'm kind of shocked that you said Jorge didn't have the same kind of epiphany. But again, like, many people don't. Like, I mean, there's some people who say the psychedelic experience is a quack because they're like, that didn't happen to me. I just basically was all weird and looped out, and everything made no sense for whatever. And then I'm back in my life, and then they. But again, I mean, I guess, like, our
go far enough. I say they didn't go far enough. They needed to handle one more time.
Yeah, that's what I think too, because I'm like, that thing is so all encompassing. Like, what do you mean you just had a slight, like, discombobulation or whatever? But okay, yeah. But right now, I just remember because I did the hero. Have you heard of Terrence McKenna? Yeah, he's that name probably. Well, when you see his face, you'll be like, oh, that's who he's talking about. Like, yeah, he's in the 70s. He was like the mushroom guru.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, mushrooms grew in my yard.
Oh, sweet.
In Prince Edward Island, they grow like at the golf course, which was down the road.
Oh my God! So you just pick one up
it was only illegal to have them dry. It was not illegal to pick them.
Okay. But when you pick them, what are you going to do? You're going to dry them,
Don't let your mother eat it.
Oh gosh. Oh man. Actually, no, I would love to see my mom on mushrooms but
I used to make a good tea as well.
Yeah. I've never done it that way. I've always just eaten it straight. But I just want to comment on, like, because I was comparing my DMT with the mushroom, the super dose, like the hero dose, they call it, the 7-gram mushroom dose. And I remember after the mushroom dose, because that one lasted for like 17 hours. I remember it was like, I was just tripping out. But I remember coming back to reality, reality. And I remember it kind of messed with me for a few days. Like, I couldn't really get going because, like, I kind of started thinking, I don't know. I just had this like, almost like, like nothing matters. Like we're all just one thing, you know, like it's like I am that dog on the street. I am my mom. I am Rachel. Like I am, like we're all, so like this is an illusion. Any form of doing anything is an illusion. And that was kind of, but then it fully exited. And I remember like noticing like that sparkle of that memory started to fade. And then once it faded out fully, I was back to like, oh man, I gotta go to work and I go pay my bills and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know,
life still happens, right?
Yeah. But I mean, to this day, I still wonder back like what that whole thing was. And, you know, and, but it sounds like you had no trouble just getting back to it. So that's interesting as well. Cause at the end of the day, like all of our neurochemistry is different. You know, there's people that smoke weed and they have a completely different reaction from someone else, you know?
Yes.
Like,
4% of the population is hypersensitive to THC. They say 4%. I do believe it's a much higher number. And if you're hypersensitive to it, you can desensitize yourself, but it does take time.
Okay. Yeah, because like I don't know, I smoke a lot of weed, but like I smoke it just at night to unwind. But like I can't do stuff on it. If it's indica, like I have to. It's just to unwind.
Indica's relaxation. Sativa's energy.
Yeah, but I have like, you know, like I know so many people that just like they'll smoke indica. Well, Snoop Dogg, like what's he doing all the time? He's high all day, all night, but he does stuff, and I'm kind of like, how the
He's
you know,
probably
like
also hyperactive, like ADD, ADHD. So having the indica brings him down to normal.
Okay, right.
Because he's all the way up here, so the indica goes, okay, now I can function because my brain's going and it's firing, so now I can function. Where sativa is, if people have anxiety or are all hyperactive, then it can enhance that, and then it creates anxiety and it can create all of that. So it's like, and then it depends on the strain.
Yeah.
And
there's endless
strain, if it's a hybrid strain, and what's it hybrided with, and what are the terpenes? We can get deep in this, but we probably shouldn't.
Why? I don't know. I'm learning right now. Okay, but what else do you know about plants again? You basically have like just a wealth of knowledge in that entire realm as well. Like what's something that's it? What's just explain to me something that I wouldn't know that I probably should know or something, you know? Like I'm going to let you take the reins here.
Oh my goodness, I have no idea. I mean, I can tell you how I got introduced, and well, I am probably ADD, ADHD, which I don't see as a negative thing. I actually see it as a positive thing, because that means I can multitask.
Right.
So, and I think it's all about perspective, right? So you see, I have anxiety, or I have this, or okay, well, what's the advantages of that? Let's put that to good use. So, I mean, I was introduced to it quite young, and not realizing that I was probably self-medicating, probably some anxiety and some hyperactiveness, maybe ADD or ADHD. At the time, we didn't know that. I ended up with some back injuries, and the doctor eventually prescribed Oxy, which literally scared the bloody bejeebers out of me. And I had a great doctor, really great doctor, and we talked about it. He knew I was scared, and we were going to monitor it. You know, I started on 5 milligrams, but we talked about the fact that you start at 5, and then you're at 10, then you're at 50, and you're up at 40. And I think I don't want to go there. And so that's when I started learning a lot more about plant medicine. And so
you were looking for an alternative to like an opioid, essentially, because of just how dangerous they are.
Exactly. Because I didn't want to, I didn't want to end up the way that so many other people have, right? And I have responsibilities, and I didn't.
So this was a long time ago. Like this is a long.
I would say, 2014 is when I started doing a lot more research.
Okay.
And a lot of research and a lot of reading and a lot of medical studies. So I actually read a lot of medical studies, and let me tell you, you can read a paragraph 20 times and still need to go back and read it 21. Because there's a lot of
it's like a different
right.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent a lot of years doing that, and more
How'd
to
you
help
hurt your
myself.
back? How'd you hurt your back?
Car accident when I was 10, fall when I was 12.
Okay. So it's like a reoccurring injury.
Yeah, it was a reoccurring, and I have a slight scoliosis, so I have a slight C shape.
I think I have that too.
And then I get hit by a car. I get hit by a car in Calgary. So they kind of rolled off and went over the roof, and get up and walked away. But the next day, I was all broken. And that
you got hit off of a roof. Sorry, can you?
Well, I was crossing the street with somebody and it turned out the driver it was a hit and run, and I did get the make and model of the car, and part of the license plate, but they didn't match, so it was obviously a.
But Rachel, sorry, you got hit into you. You said you fell off a roof.
No, I guess the car came and hit me straight on, like from the front. I must have jumped. I don't know. I must have jumped a little bit because geez, and so I rolled up over the roof and came out the back end of the car, like off the back end, almost like a movie.
Off the roof of the car. Okay.
Like wood, roof, trunk, ground.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I had a photography studio then. The boys they had a photography studio then.
That's insane. So someone ran you over and just drove away.
And drove away, yeah. White car, red stripes. Until they never found.
Oh man! No, what a psychopath! You can't just run someone over and drive off. That's insane. So did you just pick yourself up off the road and get to the hospital?
No, I didn't go to the hospital. I thought I was fine. I mean, I got up and I was like, okay, I'm good. And
you must have been pissed off.
I was really pissed. And I think I was actually going out to get the car to pick the boys up at school. So I went and picked them up at school or whatever. And it was the next day, I bent over to pick up, back in the day when they had telephone books, the big yellow pages. And I bent over to pick up the yellow pages and I couldn't get up. That was it. And my right shoulder, my right hip were pretty much touching each other. And I was bent. That's when I went to the hospital.
Oh, God.
And I had some physio for a while. And even over the years, part of the business decisions I've made is because of my back. Like, okay, I can't be on my feet all day in a studio, on cement floors. So what do I need to do next? Like, how do I change that? Right.
Hey, I got to ask you, did you go to the police when you got hit by that guy?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay, good.
And there is a fund.
That's so insane. Like if you're a guy and you just ran over someone,
and it was a guy.
Yeah, like that would shouldn't that eat you up? I mean, unless they were messed up, unless they were on DMT and driving or something,
right?
Maybe thought it was a dream or something.
Right. I figure probably it was the police figure that was probably an unregistered, uninsured car, maybe with the wrong license plates on. Like I'm just, I can't afford it, whatever. Had too much, whatever it was. It was in the middle. It was 3:00 in the afternoon. It wasn't at night or anything. Yeah.
Even worse. Like didn't run over to, are you okay? Blah, blah, just straight, boom. I just committed a fucking manslaughter.
Yeah.
Holy, okay. But, okay, let's get away from that trauma. I'm so sorry that happened to you, by the way. That's insane. There's so many scumbags in this world. I just can't, that's just insane. Anyway, okay. But after that, you went to the doctors. They eventually kind of tried to prescribe you oxy. You weren't really down.
Didn't come until much later. I think I had a lot of physio, and I was younger too. I would say I was probably in my late 20s. But yeah, I did. I could tell when my back was going to go, and I would end up all crooked again, and I'd be back at the chiropractor or physio. And luckily, there is something in Calgary where if you are a victim of an accident, where someone doesn't have insurance or something, there is a fund. So I didn't have to pay for the chiropractor. I didn't have to pay for the physio.
Okay, that's good.
And yeah, it bothered me from time to time, and I don't know.
Okay, well, let's fast forward back to the plants then. Because because you're indirectly now like very knowledgeable about plants essentially. So
Yeah.
but it stemmed from you trying to find an alternative to opioids essentially.
To opioids.
Okay, perfect. And
I think because my back got worse because of the type of work that I was doing, and going back into like the studio and standing all day or being bent over, it just got worse, and that was the only thing that was sort of on the market. And
so in a weird way, it was like a blessing in disguise because of that transpiring, that led to you now, you know, being an expert in the plants and things like that, which I'll definitely use you as a reference whenever I have questions.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my husband is really knowledgeable in that now as well.
Right.
Right.
How did you and Jorge meet again, by the way?
It's a funny story.
Yeah, I want to hear this because you know, I always, you know, Jorge's so fun to drink with too and stuff. Like,
I named him in a joke, probably back in 2001 or 2002. So now we're really. So I named him in a joke 20 years ago.
Okay.
So amongst my girlfriends, where they're saying, "Oh, you know, you start dating, or you should start dating." Yeah, no, I just want my Jorge, nothing less. Because I think I had taken a trip to Mexico, and I don't know, the name stuck, and that was it. It wasn't. I didn't meet anybody particular in Mexico or anything like that. So it was just always a joke. And the night before I met him, it was at Stampede time, which I don't participate overly in because I don't really like crowds. But we were going to the Ranchmans because
Ranchmans, okay.
Right, yeah. Her friend owned it, right? Her friend owned the Ranchmans, so we didn't have to wait in line. And the night before, I was in her house, and she was like, "Oh, you know, Rachel, you should start dating again." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I just want my Jorge, nothing more, nothing less."
So Jorge, that word was kind of like your fiction, like
just a word I put in my head.
In your head was like, that's going to be your soulmate is a Jorge, like your Jorge. Yeah. And then ironically, you went to Stampede, in which you don't normally ever go to Stampede. No. And then you end up meeting Jorge, who actually is named Jorge.
Yeah. I met a friend of his who was younger, and I was, you know, not interested.
Yeah.
But they happened to have the table by the girls' bathroom, so smart boys. And so, right, all different age groups. Yeah. So when I come out,
location,
right? It is true. So when I came out of the bathroom, they go, "Oh, hey, you know," because they were from the marriage. A couple of them were from the marriage. And so I went around, "Hi, I'm Rachel. You know, hi, Bride, and hi, hi, I'm Jorge." And I went, "Oh, I just wished for you." And he goes, "Well, I'm right here now." Is it?
And then you guys just had natural chemistry and kind of like that was it.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, you know, like
he's up with me, right? So I mean, I wouldn't marry me.
Sorry, what was that you just said? You said he puts up with you? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Okay. Everyone has someone, you know. It's just so funny, Rachel, because so you've obviously heard of law of attraction, right? And like you indirectly did that, like, because that's what they always say. It's like you're supposed to be so specific about what you want, and then and it manifests as you take action. So it was weird. It's almost
no
like
action, no reward.
Exactly. Like it's like we've all noticed that work in our lives. Like some people call it, "Oh, it's woo woo magic." I'm not saying it like it, but there's something. Maybe it's not this grandiose magical thing that happens, but it's definitely your mind. You targeted what you were looking for, and then it somehow kind of like a magnet finds you back. And in law of attraction, they always say like the more specific you can get, as well as being broad, like you're being broad and specific, then it increases the chances of the thing running by your lane. But then when it comes into your lane, it's up to you to take action, like without, you know, to make the thing happen. And it could be in a variety of examples, but for yours is literally like, you're like, okay, like I'm single. I just need to find my Jorge.
Yeah,
and
but
then,
I would tell him, he didn't know where I lived for 3 months. Like I went and met him at his place or out somewhere else. Like I was, yeah, he was my Jorge, but at the time I was not looking for more than,
right.
So.
But again, like, but the right guy came to blossom, so to speak, over the courtship or you know, but I don't know. I just find that very fascinating.
The first time he came to the house, Cass was standing outside with his hands on his hip, like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's my boy, man. Like, hey, good, you're protecting your mom, awesome.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Cass was how old was he at the time? Because like
he would have been probably about 18.
Okay, grown guy. Did he tell me about Jorge back then? Let me think about it. I can't remember. But Jorge's a big dude. Cass wasn't nearly as big as he is now when he was 18. I remember he was like, he had the same height, but he wasn't like, Cass is over 200 pounds.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah, Cass is a solid dude now. And but Jorge's like a tall guy himself. Like what was he, like 6'3", 6'4"? I mean, like
6'1".
6'1"? Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. He seemed tall. He reminded me of when I first saw him, I was like, holy shit, you look like Antonio Banderas, like the actor. Yeah. Well, obviously a bit older. Sorry, Jorge, but reality, like older, like, yeah. But I was just sitting there like, oh, like, and then, it's just a funny dude. And then, but I was always curious how you guys met. But that's interesting, Rachel. Like, and it's also fun. You literally indirectly met, like, did law.
It just so happened his name. It's not like the universe put a Jorge in, It was just sort of.
It quite literally did, actually.
Maybe it did. I guess I'm just not one of the people that sit around and go, okay, I'm going to meditate on. I do like to meditate, but I'm going to manifest. And I do believe in manifesting, but manifesting is via action, not via waiting for it to come to you. I mean, you can sit and meditate in your room all bloody day. No one's going to bring you lunch.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there's right. Like the universe sets you up to take the action. It's kind of like the best analogy I heard was like it's almost like you want to get somewhere, and the universe will show you where to sail, but it's up to you to build the boat and then take the boat out and then actually navigate the boat like through the charted path or whatever. Yeah. And I've noticed that just even when in our life, like when me and Cass were serious about starting Kaks, it was very miraculous. The people we started bumping into and meeting, and like the right guy at the right time rolled in with the perfect advice on what we need to do. And it was very strange, and even to this day, I see it working. Is it always smooth? No, I would not say it's smooth, but it's like, but it's a real thing. People should try to apply it in their own life, whether it's, directly or indirectly. And the way you said that, you like, I just want my Jorge, like, that's the other trick. Like, you're not supposed to be, not flexible with how the thing comes. You have to be like, you gotta be like open-minded, if you will, it can't be like, oh, I need my Jorge in 5 days. No, like, it's like, you just say, I need my Jorge. And then it's just kind of works, and exactly. Yeah. A long time. Yeah. And it's funny too, how, cause like oftentimes I notice myself too, where, I don't like, it's like, I don't want to go somewhere one day. But for some reason I end up there, whatever it is. Maybe it's a movie that I didn't want to see, but then my friend wanted to see it, and I end up being there. But then I noticed this happens so many times. But then when I'm there, it's almost like I was playing my role in someone else's law of attraction, because then I would run into someone that I knew, and then at that exact precise time, like, they needed to hear something that I had to say, and then you hear the next day that they went and did something. And then they call me back to say, oh, hey, like, great bumping into you again. We should go grab a beer. And then they'll say, hey, by the way, like, it's very, very auspicious, but that thing you said to me, it really resonated. Now I took action on this thing or whatever. Like I've noticed that happen so many times. Like, so
I think it just goes to to show you that you can affect the lives of others, and how you present yourself and how you carry yourself has a lot to do with the effect that you have on the lives of others. So if you're the idiot that hit me with the car, you know, you're probably the ramifications through your life because you're a bit of an ass, without a doubt, right?
You're talking about karma then, essentially, or
in a sense. But I think that's something I've always said to the boys. Like you've got to think about, like, you can change somebody's day just by saying hello, and you really can, because you don't know what's going on in their mind
that's true.
Things. And so our ability to, and again, we can go back to the DMT and how we are all connected.
That's what I was about to segue back to. Like that I feel like we're all one thing. Like there's something to it. You know, I mean, I wouldn't say I have any of this mastered down, but it's just, I noticed way too many, again, I'm going to use the word, like, auspicious moments that have occurred over and over. And I'm starting to know how to, like, manipulate it a bit. And, but you can never manipulate it all, because so whenever something happens now in my world where I don't really feel like doing it, but then I just remind myself, hey, this might be part of a greater thing right now, like whatever it may be, you know. So it's just like, just go do it, see what happens. And then oftentimes I may not think anything of it. I just carried on my night, but it could have been just another simple example of like, maybe just you being in the room at that time was that extra ticket that one stand-up comedian needed to make his quota, and, you know, and or something. And then like it changed everything. Like, yeah, like, and again, the DMT thing makes me think, like, dude, this is all connected. If you just try to at least make sure your intention is coming from a good place, it really does. Things do have a peculiar way of sorting itself out, but it also goes polar. Like, if you want to be super negative and malicious, like the guy who ran you over, like maybe there was no rhyme or reason there, but again, that can create more chaos. And I feel like right now it's, you know, maybe, sorry, my nose is running all of a sudden, but it's almost like right now in society, like with the snowflakes and all of this, it's like they're doing the opposite of the positive thing. Like they're targeting the negative thing, and then they're creating more of it. And then, like, you know, for instance, like,
it's a lot of narcissism, to be perfectly honest with you. Right?
Yes, I agree.
Like, oh, well, I have anxiety, so therefore everybody in the neighborhood must now tippy-toe around because I have anxiety. And I'm sort of kind of like, well, you need to deal with your anxiety. Like, I appreciate the fact that you have it, but my life isn't going to change, or my pathway is not going to change because you have this or you have that, or whatever gender you, like, again, I don't give a shit what gender you want to be. If you want to be a cat or you want to be I don't care. Like, it doesn't, you know, whatever makes you happy. But the world doesn't have to revolve around you and your narcissistic self. Go be a cat. Yeah. And that's where the things it's narcissism. I really think it's narcissism. And I think we've created it. And I think strong men have created weak men. And I don't mean men as in men, but
people. Strong people have created too good of a time with no adversity. Excuse me. And then and now that we're seeing the snowballing effect, but that also goes.
Snowball effect of snowflakes.
hey, yeah, I never thought of it like that. But also it's, you know, we have to be like humble in the way we're seeing that, in the way we place our mindset in regards to that saying, because like Cass and I, we keep reminding ourselves, like, we ain't shit. Like, we're like, as awesome as we think we are, and as far as we've been pushing and learning and growing and doing everything we've been doing, like, just like, did we survive hunting saber-toothed tigers with man-made sticks of wood in the wild, like our ancestors probably did? Like, no, like that, those are actual tough people. Like, even today, like, no matter what we're going through, it's funny, like, Cass just keeps reminding us, like, reminds me from time to time where I might get worked up on something. And he's like, dude, like, if you really take a look around, you still have everything you need. It's just an illusion that you think that you don't have it, but you do. You have plenty of food, shelter, clothing. So just remember, like we're like, we need to ramp it up even more, because like we're snowflakes compared to the
Right.
previous generations, like compared to you, like compared to like my dad, like it's like, look,
Yeah, I think with
you
my
have two
grandmother.
kids. Yeah, like it's like when I just placed again, like you had two kids for a while there, you're doing the single mother thing, and you also had like four businesses. You just said you got hit by a car, and you just got up and walked it off. It's still like picked up your kids. Like, I mean, today, could you imagine if that happened to some snowflake today? There's no way. It'd be like, I'm not doing anything for 2 years. Everyone endless.
I didn't have Facebook to go on and say, "Oh, this has happened," because I do see a lot of that. And as much as I've answered some people, and if I can help them, I'll help them. But in the same respect, you got to learn to fish.
Yeah,
that'll help you more. I'll give you the rod and I'll take you to the river.
Yeah,
right?
Too many people aren't learning to fish. They'll take that rod, they'll sit by the edge, and they'll lay back like this and be like, "Hey, you do it for me," you know. And then if you don't do it for me, it's like they're like, "I'm a victim. You're being mean or something."
Right.
I don't know.
Like
Bit of a disaster.
I think of my grandmother, who was, I was a very late child in my parents' lives. Let's just say I was like, 12 years, and then me after my sister. So.
So there was your sister 12 years later, there was you?
There was my brother, 7 years, my sister, and 12 years me. And my mother, the funny joke is my mother said Dad cornered her because she was on crutches. The truth is that she was on crutches, and that it could be totally possible, which I always thought was a funny joke. But so my father was born in 1924.
Okay, you're dating yourself now.
I am, but he passed in 2017. But again, I was much later in their lives. So you can imagine a completely different generation. And then comes me, right? Free spirit that has that has learned so much from them, but had every intention of paving my own way. When I look back at my grandmother, his mother, who lived with us when I was a child, she died when I was 12. So she was born in the late 1800s, and she married my grandfather in 1917. And I have the cufflinks that she got for him for their wedding day.
Oh.
And so you've got to think about this. She lived through World War I.
Yeah.
She lived through the Spanish flu.
Yeah.
Right. Had a great time in the 20s. My dad was born. She had 3 boys and a girl. They lost, the girl died, Nora died in the late 40s. That's a scandalous story. Every family has a scandal. And right. And then there's the Great Depression, and they were farmers. And then there's World War II.
Jeez.
Right.
See,
and then there's the Korean War, so that means their sons are going off to it. And then there's the Vietnam War. Oh, and then there's 1973 when you took the U.S. dollar off the gold standard, and what that did, and inflation went up 30%.
Oh yeah.
Which has never come down at 30%. It went up, right? Oh, look, we're saving money. No, you need to go back down over here. So she died in 1978, 9, I think. So when I feel with what the world is going on now, I remember that. But I think there's some crazy ass shit going on right now.
What do you mean? Like conspiracy stuff?
Well, you look back in history, most conspiracies turned out to be true, did they not?
Especially World War II.
Remember, Hitler was on the Time magazine Man of the Year in 1935. Right?
Yeah.
So there was a lot of, and go into the Vietnam War, and you can go into the gold standard. There's somewhere in the middle is the truth, right? But I think,
or maybe it's more crazy than we think. I mean, who knows?
A lot more crazier than we think. I think if anybody wants to look up and talk about how crazy it is, look up.
Do you think
Whitney Webb, and because she's a researcher. You've got to
Okay.
look.
Yeah, that name rings a bell. Yeah.
She's a researcher, and she's just started now appearing on some podcasts because she was how do you say, like, she was asked or contract to write a book, and she's a researcher, and she did a lot of research, and the one book is going to be turned into two because there's so much information. So yeah, I've been found out about her 2 weeks ago, but so I can't speak for her. I can just say,
Right.
well,
but what do you think though? What do you think though? Like, do you think? I'm just gonna come on and say what I think, or maybe that's not right.
I think billionaires are assholes, and they just don't have enough control.
I think there's again, I don't want to die on this hill with what I'm saying, but I seriously think there's like extraterrestrial like influence. I really do. I think that.
I'd love it if there was, because I think we'd have hope.
Yeah, or whatever it is. I think we're like an experiment of a completely advanced. Maybe it's one alien, maybe it's two. I don't know. I'm also like a big Star Trek guy too, right? Like I watch a lot of Star Trek, and Star Trek's like their plot. Like the Federation has when they invented warp speed in that Star Trek world, like they don't interfere with other planets until their planets have developed warp drive on their own natural accord. Then they will come in and actually assimilate them into the Federation. But then there's episodes where they had to manipulate certain planets because like the storylines were, like those planets they were on their way. They were about to break through and create warp drive. And on top of it, they noticed those planets had value. They were they had their own arts and technologies. And the Federation, would want to intervene, but they couldn't. But then they also realized that in that planet, they were about to blow themselves up with their versions of nuclear weapons and their own politics and war. So then they had to come in and start to like manipulate things to swerve it in the right direction. And sometimes I think that, man, like there's probably aliens around. They're just guiding us in this direction to, like, I don't know if it's for good or bad or for their own.
I think they suck because they're not doing very good guidance right now.
Well, I'm saying like they may not be altruistic. They may not be good aliens.
No,
they could just be like, it could be just they have to do something for their own like maybe they need X amount of people because like to drill oil. I'm just using my imagination here because like maybe the pollution actually is like a source of like something that they require or something. I don't know. Like so then they manipulate this or that, or maybe they feel like there's too many people now, and then that's when they throw down like the Spanish flu or like what, I don't know. Like it's just my brain.
Climate change at all. I believe that the climate is always in a state of change. Always, and has always been.
That's what a lot of people are saying now. Yeah.
And there was a couple of years ago where they, and again, I don't know, we were talking about this, like I wouldn't remember the names, but where they drilled like 5 miles down in Greenland into the ice. And then what you can do is you can tell, and you can get this read. So what it shows is how many thousands of years ago was that? 30,000, 50,000? And you see this 1.5 to 2 degree change every 100 years. Boom, 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 boom.
Just naturally occurring.
Same thing. Naturally. Again, at one time, Mesopotamia was the green belt. You know what I mean? So I think that we're always, like humans, we're in a state of aging, we're in a state of change. But there's always going to be, do I think that we got to stop putting plastic in the ocean? Hell yeah. And probably too much coal isn't a good thing, but I don't think electric cars and lithium mines do us any favors either. So there's a hell of a lot more damage surface. So I think that what's happened is there is those in a position of power that are putting out the narrative in the mainstream, and we all just sort of kind of march along like good little, reminds me of Pink Floyd in The Wall. Good little soldiers, and that we're not asking the questions. And and science is about debate. It's always about debate and data. And so you did a scientific experiment, then I need to redo it, see if I got the same as you did, and this group over here has to redo it, see if we get the same. And it's not just like one person that says, "Oh no, it's this."
Mhm.
So I think it's the same thing with climate change. And I do think that there's things that we can change, obviously, but I think we're always in a state of change. And
Mm.
we're always in a state of motion. And so when you talked about aliens, are you a fan then of Graham Hancock?
I love Graham Hancock, and I also love Randall Carlson. But again, I don't want to just say that's why I was like, really, maybe I shouldn't have said that, because look, I don't know if aliens exist. I got no proof, but sometimes, for instance, I look at I don't know, I just I look at my cats, for instance, sometimes, and I have there's like 3 cats living at my place right now, and every now and then I just realize again, I'm like, we're manipulating these cats. Like, we can make them fatter by giving them more high calorie food. We can lighten their diet. We manipulate their, their behaviors, like by sometimes giving them attention, not like, so I'm like to the cats.
So am I a cat. So am I a cat to a higher
Are we
power?
a cat to something else, right? Do you know? Like, I just like, it seems very arrogant. We think that we're, yeah, like, I really think that, or at least they're pulling our strings in a method of like checkmating us, for instance, like that COVID, like what happened in COVID. Like, okay, like, we all have to somewhat conform a little bit at the start, because we didn't have no idea what it was. Like the fear mongering again. Like, I remember thinking, I mean, when it first happened, like, I fully complied, because I didn't know what it was yet. Like, I didn't want to know that I went and said hi to my mom, and then I actually just released the virus, and that was it, and then that's what killed her. But then obviously, as more time went on, I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, it's becoming pretty
changing. If you do this won't happen. Oh no, sorry about that. If you do this won't happen. Oh no, sorry about that. So again, I don't know at any point in time when the people really truly, and let's just go back in history, when the people really truly trust the government.
There would have to be
a point in time.
Like, they've never really. I mean, well, the North Americas was formed because everyone was trying to leave, being told what to do by these.
They're still narcissistic, and what's in it for me? As if I was the king of France or the king of England, or Elizabeth I. I mean, all the decisions that she made were in the best choices of England, per se, not necessarily the best choices of
its people,
in China, or the natives in North America or South America, or so I think everybody has their own damn agenda.
Yeah,
and especially those that are in power, they have an agenda, and I'm just an ant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
live through
it. Right. Yeah, I was just like, this topic's obviously, it's a hot button topic, because every time you get into these debates, you're gonna get so many people. They're gonna get so fired up. But right now, I just find it so peculiar that this right wing, left wing dynamic is like, it's like the perfect foil to bring out conflict in people. Because it's no longer
divide and conquer.
Yeah, and
I've always been center.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I've always believed, and I'll take this back to my sons. And this is sort of, I guess, probably where I learned this lesson, that somewhere in the middle is the truth. Because if the boys were having an argument, say, over a toy in the playroom, and I'm in the kitchen and I can hear them arguing, so I go into the room to find out what the fight is about, and one says, well, he did this, and the other one goes, well, he did this, and he said this, and I said, okay, so which son do I call a liar? Neither. That's your perception of the truth. Yeah. That's your perception of the truth, and that's your perception of the truth, right? And somewhere in the middle is the actual truth. So I'm going to take the toy, you work it out, and you get the toy back. Period. Because I'm not going to call either one a liar, because either one's perception of what happened was their truth.
Right.
Right?
Well, especially in something subjective like that. It'd be different, though, if it was like a clear-cut,
If I was in the room and I heard one, like the other story when Carter broke his hand on Kaks's head. I wasn't.
I didn't hear that. What happened?
Well, they Supposedly, here's my perception of the truth, not being in the room. But supposedly they'll each have their own perception, and somewhere in the middle will be the truth. They were doing their flyers, and they have to cut all these plastic things off to undo them, and then you put them all in together. And I guess they were probably bickering. I'm assuming they were bickering about something. And Carter asked for the scissors, and Cass threw them.
Oh.
And Carter got pissed off and got up and hit Cass out here in the head. And he did the boxer's break, right?
Oh God, yeah.
And I didn't hear anything. I went downstairs and you see something's wrong, Carter. Like, I really hurt my hand. I look at it and go, oh, you broke your hand. You didn't hurt your hand. You broke your hand. And we'll have to go off to the hospital. And how did this happen?
Did Cass even do any damage?
Cass had welts. Cass had
okay.
nice big welt here. But again, if someone threw scissors at me, would I hit them? Yeah. But did he? Or did he not? And so again, I wasn't in the room. What's the truth? Somewhere in the middle. Right. They're probably bickering about something else, or they're brothers.
And you don't know what else led to that too. There could have been a buildup of something. Yeah. No, I have an older brother. Yeah, we growing up, we had our, we're only a year and a half apart. So me and my brother, we had just like Cass and Carter, they have a good relationship overall, all things considered. Yeah. And me and my brother, the same thing. But yeah, we've had some fights for sure. And then, and you're right. Like my mom, she did what you did too. She wouldn't just take in each side. The more I think about it, she always made sure it was fair because also to play favoritism. I remember I get pretty
figure it out. Figure it out and come to a consensus between the two of you and work it out.
Yeah.
Period. And so they learn to fight in whispers. But they also learned to work it out before I ever had to enter the room. I only ever had to take a toy between them fighting maybe once or twice. And after that, they were smart enough to know better. Well, we better, okay, you have it for the first half hour and I get it for an hour. Okay, deal. Done.
That's awesome. I think that's solid parenting. I mean, it's better than get them both the toy now, and spoil the shit out of them. Which I think is, again, what I'm seeing so much of now.
Well, I think it's a different time because you're so influenced by Instagram and Facebook and whatever.
Yeah.
This is how perfect my life is. And it's is it? Is it really?
And we can decipher that, but teenagers can't. Their egos, they don't even. They're just discovering egos. They're just starting to get egos, and then they don't even know how to handle it. Not connected. They have all the hormones raging through. To be honest, kids are a disaster. Teenagehood is. I'm surprised half of us aren't thrown in jail and accidentally ran someone over. I'm surprised I got through it. The more I think about it, because there was. Because the thing too is I was kind of Cass's influence, if you will, when he was a teenager, because I was in university and I remember because I met Cass at Stampede Catering when he was a waiter and he was 14 and then I was almost 20 or 19 or whatever.
And then part of his 16th birthday at the movie theater?
I might have been. And I might have been the guy to supply them the weed.
I just know I got the call. You got to come pick us up. He was not
okay.
So I had to deal with the kids. No questions asked.
Yeah.
You need me? You're in trouble. I come get you. No, and I kept that deal. I did ask no questions. I would rather you be home and safe.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah. No, I don't remember ever getting in too much trouble with Cass and when he was growing up there, but the more I reflect on it, he definitely at that time looked up to me, and I definitely in hindsight now would not have looked up to me, because I was just figuring things out myself, and I was in a different I was in university, so I have a whole completely different peer group going. It was high school times 100. So, all sorts of shenanigans were going on there. And then again, I'm just surprised that everyone that I was rolling with back then, that none of us that we're all here in this part of our lives and not.
I could say the same thing about my teenage years.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised.
I think that goes for everyone. Yeah. Hey, Rachel. So we're at the 1 hour, 20-minute mark here. I'm gonna wind her down here, but I'm gonna put all your I'm gonna put your description in the show notes as well, and if people want to reach out to you with Canadian Financial, I'll connect the website there as well. And yeah, because you can potentially help people get business loans now and, and things of that nature.
You know, or if you want to buy a car, I can get you financed. Or if you want to sell your car, right? So if you're listing your car for sale, you can put my link on and it says financing available and we'll finance it. So you get your cash and no negotiating, right? Get the price you want, get your cash, and the person drives away with the car. Like boats, RVs, tiny houses.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So they just say referred by Rachel Kielly kind of thing.
Say financing available. That's it. But just have them reach out to me if somebody's interested in any kind of financial thing. Like, again, you could be a business, or you could be a person that's wanting to sell your car. Or you could be a person who's wanting to buy a tiny house, because that's hard to get mortgages, right? Because they're not. It's leased land, or you're on a lease, right? So it's not the same kind of equity. So we do things like that. We're evolved away from your traditional banking.
Perfect. Well, I mean, like I said, me and Cass might be using your services for some other things there, a fridge or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Rachel, I'm going to wind this down here. All right. Hope everyone enjoyed this conversation. Okay, I'm going to stop recording here. All right, everyone, have a great night. Rachel, it was a pleasure chatting with you, and I'll chat with you soon anyway for all sorts of other reasons here.
Yeah, we could talk about aliens some more. I love
it. yeah. We'll get stoned and we'll do DMT together and then talk about aliens.
I'll bring my shaman to Calgary.
All right. Okay. Rachel, I'm going to stop recording here. Okay. Bye, everyone. Have a great night. All right.